Yo, what's up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Powercast. And on this episode of Powercast, we will be recapping Power Season 6, Episode 15, exactly how we planned, and it is the season finale and the show finale, because this is the final episode of Power ever. So, this is a big deal right now. And I'm here with Miss Dana Abercrombie. How you doing, Dana?
I'm full of emotions. The show is ending. Boo.
It is indeed. I can't believe it.
Can't believe it.
It's been a long road.
It's been many
We're
years.
finally at the end of the road now.
I can't let go. It's unnatural.
It's,
It belongs to me.
it's very hard to let go.
We're at the end of the road.
Yeah, I still can't believe Ghost is gone, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's so hard to say goodbye. You feel like he was just here yesterday.
Gary, that's boys to men. Boys to men.
Oh yeah.
You missed the joke.
Gary missed the whole joke.
I knew that.
We don't get that over in the UK. Who are the boys? Are they men?
You guys are gonna have the commenters coming at me crazy because they think I don't know Boys to Men, but I knew. I caught on.
You don't have that Motown Philly down there.
No, we do. But yeah, I'm also here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How you doing, Rich?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers? And welcome to the series finale. Good riddance to Power.
Wow, good riddance. Great way to start off this episode. So yeah, obviously the final episode of Power has aired, and we are about to dissect it and just let all of our thoughts out. I mean, this is probably going to be a less structured show because we're just pretty much reacting to everything, and we're just going to be letting all of our thoughts flow right now because now we know everything that happened. We know everything that's led up to this point. We know the whole build up. We know who shot Ghost. We know everything. So we're just gonna let it rip, and we're gonna enjoy ourselves, and we hope that you guys enjoy yourselves listening to us also. Be sure to leave your comments and your feedback. As always, it's always welcome. So let's get right into the episode and some of the interesting things that happened. Of course, we will be covering the whole who shot Ghost. We'll be dissecting that later on, but let's get to some of the things that led up to that. Now, the first thing I want to get to is, obviously this season has been lacking in, love scenes, I guess, if you will. But and of course we didn't actually get a Ghost love scene, but we did get a Tasha one in this episode. So we see the return of Quinton as him and Tasha are in bed together. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, what was the first thought that went through your mind when you saw that Quinton was suddenly back? Because we haven't seen this guy in a long time. Like he's been off screen for, it feels like forever, to be honest. Like I don't even know how many episodes he was in, of this season. Like, it doesn't feel like a lot, but I just want to know what you guys thought of him suddenly returning, because the fact, like, when I saw him there, I was like, all right, so this has to connect somehow, but I don't exactly know how yet. So, like, what was going through your mind, Dana, when you first saw Quinton? And also, did you enjoy the love scene? Because I know that you love these kind of scenes and stuff. So
First, I think it's Richard who who loves to watch the action go down. He loves each beat of the moment. But for me, initially, I was very happy to see Quinton back. because one, we haven't seen him for so long, and in my mind, my brain, I'm thinking, oh, this is a possibility. Well, remember when we had Tasha, who was like, I'm free, I want to have my own life and do my own thing, and Quinton was like this new love interest and something that was young and exciting for her, and I was really into it at first, the actual him coming back, not the scene, but I was excited for the fact that he came back and that this was going to be one of the loose ends that they kind of tie up, because we went this long stretch of period where we didn't see Q for a while. And last time I kind of remember was when they was doing the Super Friends episode, when they had to get as much drugs as possible in order to sell them to get Tariq back, because he was being held hostage. So at first I was really excited to see him, and I was happy that the writers didn't forget about him. As we go on and we see the reason why they brought him back, I thought it was really a missed opportunity, and it was just sad and like shameful, because they essentially made him, the fall guy. And I was like, this is the entire reason why you even have a character. Quinton was to, at the end, make him a fall guy, and I felt that it was just really convenient, and I didn't like it. And it just, I think overall Quinton deserved better. And even at the end part where Quinton is finally able to piece together what really was Tasha's goal in mind for him, and it wasn't even like something that was thought out. This was a very sudden type of action that Tasha did. I just really felt overall sad for the character, for the simple fact also that we didn't get to see his side of things in this when we go and talk later on about the whole interrogation and the gun incident, that I really thought that they should have played into that more so we can know a little bit about his feelings of being betrayed. So overall, he just was a convenient tool to get from one scene to the next. But I did like seeing him, and that they at least brought him back initially at first when that scene.
All right. And how about you, Rich? Any thoughts on Quinton?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much a lot of what was already said. The character came back. As you both said, we did not see much of him this season. The last time we did see him was when Tommy and Ghost had to work together to try to get that money for Tariq. But I figure, again, because this final episode is really about Tasha and Tariq, it made sense for them to bring him back. But I do agree that you could have done a lot more with the character, because I kind of feel like one thing about Power, and I say this is a missed opportunity on multiple fronts, is that whenever they introduce a new character, there's always some air of mystery about the character, and it gets people talking as to, well, there's more to this character. Because they did the same thing with Ramona. And really, there wasn't anything, because they didn't really do a lot with these characters moving forward in the context of the actual story. They just turned out to be just people that they introduced for a particular reason in the story with other characters, and then that's it. So I do agree it was a missed opportunity not to use Q and get more out of the character, get more of his emotional reaction to being betrayed by Tasha. So that was disappointing. And in response to what you said about the love scenes, I only laugh at the love scenes because they make them so dramatic and over the top. I know Courtney Kemp always says that she wants the sex scene to be earned, because I remember she saying that in an interview. So I don't really think it was earned necessarily in this episode. It's just like, yeah, I just think it was just put in there because, we have to further the storyline with Tasha, show that she is moving on with this other guy, and that was it. But yeah, and then again, I will say though, and we'll get into this later, obviously, I could not stop laughing at what happened at the end between Q and Tasha, because Q, I have to imagine, I've never been in that situation, but I have to imagine that's a pretty bad way to be disturbed in that particular sense. And the reaction he had, like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, I couldn't. I had to laugh. I laughed when I saw that particular scene. I didn't go back and watch all of the, the nudity and stuff. But that particular scene with the reaction, I had to laugh because I saw that a couple times and laughed. But yeah, I guess, hey, they just added the character in there for a reason to help out, for Tasha's storyline. But yeah, they definitely could have done more with him. But it is what it is.
Oh, I have a lot more to say about Quinton later. There's so much to say, but yeah, it was interesting to see that character return, and I guess it kind of made us curious about where this was going because final episode and everything. In the final episode, you would think that every scene is supposed to mean something, but I will say this: they spent a lot of time. And I guess it's just the structure of these last 5 episodes, but they spent a lot of time showing us scenes that we already kind of saw. So that was one issue I had with this final episode. It felt like we saw half of it already. But yeah, so moving on, there is actually another scene I want to bring attention to here. And it is a scene that we've seen already, but there was some new content added to the scene. Now, this is the scene where Tommy and Tasha, are in her apartment, and Tommy is basically confronting her about, Lakeisha, because he's just found out that it was Tasha. And Tommy actually, we saw this scene previously in Tommy's episode, but in this episode, Tommy actually, he's like, he gets into a new angle, like literally like a new angle. He gets behind her, I believe, whereas in his episode he was in front of her, right? Something like that. And then he says a new line completely, and I feel like Rich. I'll let you say it actually because like you were the one that said this first. But like, what did you think of that new part of the scene that they added with Tommy?
Well, again, the whole thing about the added line in there that, when she was talking about take care of Yaz and Tariq, he says, and he made a line about that, well, they definitely deserve better, even though you don't deserve better. I wouldn't do that to them. And I feel like when you add that line to it, that all of a sudden brings more context to the particular scene, what happened the last time. And I really will question why we did not get that in Tommy's episode, because for him to just outright leave and not say anything else, come on now, that was just a weak finish to it. Now I understand why they put it in this episode, because it basically was foreshadowing what was going to happen with Tasha in her fate, and the fact that she was a bad person, but she had to pay for her crime one way or another. So I guess that's why they put it in this scene, but I would have liked for them to have that particular dialogue in the Tommy episode, because it gives more context as to why Tommy just left the way he did. Because I mean, I feel like, if I had a girl and somebody killed her, I'm not going to just straight up leave the person after you have them at gunpoint. No, I need some answers, and I'm going to have a cold line to say to him or something. But it's just, to me, in Tommy's episode, that to me was the one thing I did not like about his episode, because it felt like that was an unanswered thing. And that reaction, for that to just happen like that, is just like, it was very disappointing. But then when you come back to that scene in this episode, okay, that line, it adds a new layer to the conversation, makes it make more sense without you trying to guess as a viewer why Tommy didn't pull the trigger. But you actually know why, because of what he said. So I really don't know why they didn't have that line. I know why they put it in this episode, because it was foreshadowing, but it definitely should have been in Tommy's episode, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you do that as well, it's like if you have two different versions of the same scene, it's like, okay, so which one was the real one? Like, which one are we supposed to believe really happened?
That's true, because they did say the episodes were from everyone's different points of view.
I think they all matter, because it's everyone's point of view. You ever have a situation that goes down and there's always conflicting details and opinions, and it's everyone's perspective? So I think they are all equal in that sense. We may not know what may be the truth, but we do know what everyone's perspective is.
Right, but if it's, I understand that, but
Mm-hmm.
this seems like both of these scenes in particular seem contradictory because it's like in one he just walks away, doesn't say another
Mhm.
word, and in the
Yep.
other one he says like this really meaningful thing before he leaves. So it's like, okay, that's weird. Why not
Well,
just like,
you can either argue that it was terribly edited, or you could just argue that the different perspectives, you're going to have an opinion based on your perspective, and so will the character. So, well, one person may say, "Oh, he just ended things." Another person from that the guy who his perspective was like, "No, here's this huge monologue that came after, but you just wasn't paying attention."
yeah, I guess. I mean, it doesn't help that he was literally like in a different position as well. Like they were in two different positions in both scenes. Like it was a bit weird, but I get it. You know, I get what you're saying. But yeah. So also in this episode we have the return of Tariq's teacher, and we actually see him getting busted and everything. Um,
Um, I forgot he existed.
yeah. So it's like they're tying up all these loose ends, but some of these are loose ends that don't even need to be tied up and stuff. But
I
uh,
didn't see the
I
purpose of that whole part because it was like they never touched on it again. It was just like, oh, all of a sudden, episodes later, he's arrested.
I
Uh,
I would like to share a theory. I
mhm.
also did not. I also didn't see the point of that scene, so I agree with you both. But I do believe that this is another plot that will be added to Tariq's spinoff show because he's
yeah.
going to have to deal. He's going to have to deal with what happened with this guy. He's going to have to deal with his little ex girlfriend. So
Mhm.
this is possibly just thrown in there so that it will be revisited later if they decide to take it down that path.
I mean, you could argue that it was Tariq who set him up, so he
Yeah,
can get rid of him. And
absolutely.
later on in book two or book whatever, they'll retouch on that, and the guy will, I don't know, maybe come back for revenge. But right now, just by itself, it was just a throwaway scene. But if there is an overall picture, then that would be nice.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And what did you guys think of since we're on Tariq? What did you think of his reaction when Tasha got home from seeing Quinton, like, and he found out she's seeing someone.
Here's the thing. This is why children need to go to school and to, be involved in their own lives. I get it from the perspective of like a child saying, this is not fair, and you're not accustomed to your mom running off and banging the random drug dealer. But in the exact same way, Tariq is almost 18, or he probably is 18 by now. He's an adult. He knows of certain things that happen and occurs, and he really should just stay in his place, which is either on the phone or making some type of deal or running after Dre or just not being angry about what was going on with her. The whole thing was just kind of really silly. But also, what I didn't like is the fact that Tasha was sneaking into her own house like she was a 16-year-old afraid to get busted. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Tariq is grown. He knows their parents are no longer together. He knows that their mom is doing something, probably with someone. So it was just odd.
Now that what you just said is kind of showing something. So it's like, or I guess they're trying to make it seem this way, but it's like, so you just said that Tasha was sneaking into her own home, and then
Hmm.
she was confronted by Tariq. So is
Yeah.
this them trying to basically say, okay, Tariq has now ascended and he is the man of the house. He is Ghost now. So
Well,
so that's why Tasha has to sneak in and
well,
You can argue that.
go. What
well.
was you gonna say, Rich?
I would say that's exactly what it says because before the episode started, when they give you like the little recap, there was a scene where Tasha was telling Tariq, "Yeah, you're the man of the house now." That was the scene that came after she had the conversation with Ghost, and he asked her, "What'd you think I was going to be?" "Oh, you're going to be the biggest drug dealer in New York City." So yeah, they showed that preview stuff beforehand, and yeah, this is where we're at now. But for me, honestly, all that tells me is that, well, all that shows me is that the lesson learned from this interaction, if you are a parent and you have a kid, you need to make it very clear that you are the parent. The
Mhm.
kid is not running you around. You are
Yeah.
the parent. You are the one that take care of the kid, do all this stuff for the kid. So they need to respect you and honor you. They're not in a position to tell you who you can and can't be messing around with, what you can and can't do. So
Mhm.
that right there goes to show, but it remains consistent because again, bad parenting. So yeah, it remained consistent. So they had to approach it that way. But yeah, I don't know who he thought he was asking her, where you been at, who you been messing around with. Yeah, all right,
Mhm.
discipline. That's what's needed with this character.
Now, I want to ask a hypothetical question just to bounce off of that. So, like, let's say Tasha and Quinton, they come out as a couple. Do you believe that having like a new male figure to look up to or whatever would help Tariq? Like, would he start to be more grateful, or do you think that he's too far gone at this point in his life, and that nobody could fix him, basically?
See, I think that he views his father as being Kanan, and then there's Ghost. When it comes to another man in the house and viewing him, I think that he is at that age where it may be a little too far gone. You would have to do some really deep, scared straight operations in order to get that kind of response out of Tariq. So no, it's Kanan first, then Ghost, and he barely respects Ghost, or at all, doesn't at all, as we will later go into.
Any thoughts on that, Rich?
Yeah, to answer your question, I think he is way too far gone to have really any respect for anything that was done to him, and it is a very unfortunate circumstance, as we will get into later. But I look at the character and I like, this reminds me very much that you go through life. There are people that you help out, you do stuff for, and then they still do you dirty. So that to me is like the character is too far gone to even be liked, in my personal opinion. And I have no sympathy for him whatsoever, because again, you and I have had conversations, Gary, with our other good friend Carl as well,
Mm.
and we all agree, man. If we grew up and we had a father like Ghost, you think somebody is going to be mad about that? Obviously, the father is not doing, he's doing dirty stuff, but he's still taking care of his family. And again, you're not going to explain this stuff to your kids at a young age. Now, obviously, Ghost could have did a better job to explain this stuff to Tariq, you know, as he became older. But obviously, at that point, he was wrapped up in all types of other stuff, including Miss Angela Valdez. So he would then I have the time to really have that conversation. But I think at the end of the day, just to get all of these opportunities, just to be able to not have to worry about anything because your parents are taking care of you, and then you go around and you still are ungrateful and do underhanded stuff behind their backs. It's just like, yeah, it's horrible.
Here's
Go
the
ahead.
thing, and I hate to be on Tariq's side, is yes, you can provide for your kid and have them have everything that they've ever wanted. But if you really look at all of the kind of episodes, they technically wasn't even physically there, let alone emotionally, unless it was something that involved them. When Ghost left the family, or when Ghost started cheating and was with Angela, and when Ghost said Angela is the true love of my life,
Yeah.
it was only then when we kind of saw Tasha not have anybody and throw this kind of fit that she started to turn to Tariq. And it was a relationship that I felt that she put too much pressure on Tariq. When you say to your child, you are now the man of the house, that is too much that's too much of a burden on a child. Just period. Even if the child is, say, like, I don't know, 48 years old. But especially if being a teenager, you're now the man of the house, and the man who you actually married and have the kid with is not gone and is not dead yet. you can't place that responsibility. And even if they are gone and if they are dead, you don't place that responsibility on a child. So I think that how they brought him up emotionally was really what created Tariq being this kind of little monster that he is today.
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah, Tariq is a little poop, but he was also created to be poopy.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, obviously Tasha and Ghost probably aren't the best parents, but I will say this as someone who grew up without a father, I would have Ghost as my father because he, like, everything he does is to support his family. And even though he messes around with other women and he does all this crime stuff, his ultimate goal is to, send the kids to school and everything, make sure they have good lives, make sure they don't end up in the life that he has to live.
That's a responsibility of anybody who has a child. That's just something that's just a given. To actually sit there and to see them interact with their kids and ask them, how are you doing? What is your day like? How can I help you? That's being a parent. And I haven't seen that from either one of them.
yeah.
So you can say, yeah, it's great to
Well-
have a physical presence of a dad, but if a dad is really not there, really caring about them, does it really matter? They're kind of absent.
Okay, but
So
I gotta say though, like one thing, like as someone who had to go to university and I am still paying for it now, like to have a parent there that pays my way through that, like
So
just seeing Tariq and how ungrateful he is, he looks crazy to me right now.
So then what you want is a bank account that someone can just hand
no.
over to you. Because you can have somebody who is struggling and in school, but at that time when it comes to like, oh, I failed this class, I'm in trouble with this, I don't feel that this major is really for me, or any other problems that you are actually going through with school, drug abuse or whatever, I don't really feel that Tariq has someone that he can go to parent-wise to kind of give him that attention, which is kind of why he fell in with Kanan. Kanan was the one who really talked to him. Those times in the car when he was just driving, he really talked to him. And overall, that's what he needs. And as opposed to, yeah, it's really nice to have a parent who can pay your way through school, but you need way more of that in just basic development.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make a comment. I agree 100% that yes, the emotional support and everything that was 100% needed, and he did not get that to the extent that he needed to get it from Ghost and Tasha. I will say this though, the reason why I still do not like the Tariq character is a lot of the bad decisions. I mean, I cannot forgive the fact that he got his sister killed, because to me right there, you were in over your head with this Ray Guy, and you end up getting your sister killed. And then, of course, you go after the guy. Okay, whatever, but that's not going to bring back your sister. So to me, it's like I understand if you are struggling with issues, and you need someone to talk with. Obviously, he confided in Kanan, but that was not the right person to confide in because, again, Kanan was also a bad person and got into this life as well.
That's why kids join gangs. Like, aside from maybe the pressure aspect, but they were there.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Kanan was there to give Tariq the attention that he needed at that point in time, and that's why he has that connection with Kanan. So I get that part, but still, I still think Tariq is like crazy, like ungrateful, basically.
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
crazy. Yeah.
and even to the very end, where even in the end, like I said, we'll get into this, later on, but even in the end, after all that went down, Tasha still sacrificed herself to make sure that Tariq was not the one that went down.
Yeah.
So it's like all of the stuff, the sacrifices were definitely made, and that's not really an easy sacrifice to make, where you're just going to say, well, I'm going to do jail time for you for something that you did. I mean, I feel like the character will never learn a lesson from the mistakes that they have made. But I guess we'll find that out in book 2 eventually.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Oh no, go ahead. No,
Here's
I just said.
the weirdest thing about that whole thing. I think that's when it hit Tariq.
You think
Because
so?
I think that's when it finally hit him. Not necessarily Ghost, because I think that anger will always be there for Ghost, but with his mother. He always had more of an open relationship with his mother. And to see her kind of sacrifice her life, literally, to go and take the blame for his actions, and him still having to go to school anyway because he couldn't get any money, which is a really great setup. Hilarious. I think when he closed that door and that kind of like miserableness of it, and they showed the montage of, you know, Tariq starting off in his new college and Tasha going to jail, I think that's kind of when it hit him. So maybe, I'm not saying that he's going to end up being perfect and, you know, he's going to start joining a church and leading a right way and swear off drugs, but I think that there will always be an ounce of guilt for what he did, not necessarily to Ghost, but how it impacted his mother.
I don't agree. I think he's still ungrateful to this day. Like,
and just
at
one
age
little
50, he's gonna be ungrateful.
and just one thing that I will add on to that. I do, you know, I would hope that he would learn his ways and also learn from this. I do still think to an extent that he is still ungrateful, but again, I mean, we will find out these questions and more with book 2, right? So that's going to answer every question. But I have to say this, and that is just that I don't really think the writers have done a good enough job with this character to make you want to root for the character. In my personal opinion, they definitely don't make me want to root for the character. So I feel like obviously, I agree with a lot of points Dana made about, obviously, you know, as, you know, you have a lot of struggles putting on the pressure of him being the man of the house and then all the stuff going on with the parents. I know from when parents get a divorce, because even my parents got a divorce, sometimes they put kids in the middle of that situation. And that is not a good situation to be in. You feel a lot of pressure and stuff like that. But eventually, with time, you know, everybody, you know, you learn from these experiences. But obviously, you know, he needed it to confide in somebody, and it was Kanan. I mean, I don't really understand why he feels that Kanan loves him, only because Kanan was listening to him and you know, all this other stuff. I didn't understand the love part of that. But it's just that, like I said, I don't really think they've done a good job with the character to the extent to make him likable. Now, I think Courtney Kim wanted this character to remain somebody that you just dislike. And obviously we know that is the case because the actor himself was receiving death threats. So that should be a sign to them. Maybe we need to do a better job of making this a three-dimensional character that you can care about, because I don't see in any way, shape, or form why I would even root for this character right now as he is right now. So we'll have to see if that changes with Power Book 2, but I'm not sold on that yet. So that's all I wanted to say right there.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll get back to Tariq later, but
I mean, the death threat part was really weird because, you know, fans are really cultish, and this goes from anything from Power to Grey's Anatomy. Shonda Rhimes was getting death threats because she killed off McSteamy and McDreamy.
Wow.
So yeah, people are just silly in that regards and not realizing that these are just characters.
Exactly.
You know, and it's there to serve a purpose of the story that is their story. This is, you may be watching it, but at the end of the day, it's the writer's and the creator's story. Yeah. But in regards to likable, if you really look at it, there was maybe only a handful of characters who were likable, and that doesn't even include Ghost, really. That's more of like what Raina and Tommy.
You know, I do have something to say on that. I'm gonna wait till later when you get into some other stuff, because based on what I have seen, there are a lot of people that love Ghost, and they are absolutely furious that this character got killed the way he did. So we'll get into that later.
yeah. But yeah, moral of the story: don't send death threats, people. That's
yes.
bad. But
that's way too far.
yeah, way too far. But yeah, throughout this episode, we also see, Tariq gets, he gets a gun, and then, he stashes it at Truth, which, that becomes important later on, but we'll get there. So, we see more of Tasha and Ghost's final scenes together and stuff. Of course, there's, the part where they revisit their old penthouse and everything. And they have that discussion there. We saw this in episode 10, but was there anything new in this version of it?
I mean, it was the same conversation about. You go ahead, Dana.
No, absolutely, there were some things about it. That was the remember they did the montage.
Yeah.
Where
they
did the flashback from the first season. I think it was like even the second episode. Not the second episode, the second scene, first episode, where, when they was having breakfast over and Uncle Tommy was there and everyone was alive and happy. And she was touching the cabinets and filling everything down.
That was the second half of what they showed with Ghost in episode 10 when he had his little talk with Raina. After he had the conversation, the nasty conversation with Tasha.
It made me chuckle. But yeah, we got to have like the feel of the house, which I guess, remember, got oh my gosh, what's that word? Renovated, because remember, it was previously shot up by Tommy. So all the holes were just disappeared. Everything was back together and shiny and brand new. So we got kind of like Tasha giving the final goodbye of the house, which is, kind of reminiscent of, remember the series finale of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will is the only one in the living room and he's just looking around at everything.
Yeah.
So that was nice-ish. And then that's when they would later go on and have that argument. The discussion with Tasha and Ghost that had my favorite line in it ever.
And what was that favorite line?
He called her. Wait. Let me get it. My favorite line in the entire series was literally when he called her a crack. What was it? A crackhead chicken head. Was it a crackhead chicken head? No, half smart chicken head.
Yeah.
Called her a half smart chicken head, and then there was another boop. He booped her again on the forehead, kind of. That what also changed with these conversations with Ghost and Tasha is that I noticed that Ghost was a lot more threatening. Not like, obviously he said the stuff before about he would take away Yaz and Tariq, but he was threatening like, yeah, you're a criminal, so if you catch a case, I might have to lock you up and keep you away from the kids. So this whole episode, like even with his interactions with Tariq, he was a lot more to the point that, yeah, you need to take the rap. You need to do this. Nothing's going to stop me. All this other stuff. So yeah, they made you want to dislike the character, but and quite honestly, what he said before when they had that conversation, him and Tasha. When she's talking about, well, you would have Tariq go to jail, he said, absolutely yes, because he wasn't thinking about it. And that was another thing they highlighted in this episode. He said, no, I wasn't thinking about that, but maybe that's not a bad idea. And Ghost had the right mindset. Tariq needs to pay for the crimes that he did instead of getting off. So that's why I say Ghost, I can understand why some people would side with Ghost because, yeah, Tariq needed to be disciplined, but obviously that did not happen the way that you would have intended. So, here's the thing about that one scene, and you can argue on the side of Tariq and the actions, was that this was the scene where Tariq knew he couldn't trust his father.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're building a relationship, this is why I also say it's great to physically be there, in the terms of here's a present, here's some money, here's me paying your tuition, but to also be supportive of your children. And me saying that he was not really that support system for him that support is based on trust, knowing that no matter what happens, I can run to my parents. And when that whole incident happened, and he technically literally ran to his parents, and to have Ghost say, yeah, you saw it on you, you got to go to jail, when the previous conversation was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So he really did, that's when he lost his trust. And I think that it sealed the deal for the whole shooting incident and why he got shot. It was a lot of things, but then right there, when I really, really, really need you, and my life is really on the line this time. Yes, you was there when I was kidnapped and everything else, but you actually want me to take the rap for this. It was just another thing.
Absolutely. I have a response to some of those things, but I will wait till we get to that part because there's a couple of things I do have to say about that shooting. So continue, Gary.
Yeah. So before we get into all of that, now I understand that in the grand scheme of things, right? As a parent, you should never ever want to send your children to prison, right?
Yeah.
But I want to ask this one thing, like, is there any validity to what Ghost is saying in this situation? Because it's like he's getting into politics now, right? He's becoming the lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
So like, if Tariq takes the rap, for this thing, it finally goes away forever. And as the lieutenant governor, he can reduce the sentence probably. Like he can do some politicking and make it so that, Tariq doesn't serve a lot of time for it anyway. Like maybe, let's say he serves a month or something. Like, if they set up the case to where, it looks like Tariq did it in self-defense or something like that. And, he doesn't actually have to serve a lot of time for it. And then the case just completely goes away and it's never looming over their heads ever again. And they can live the rest of their lives happily after that. So is it such a bad thing for Tariq to take that rap?
So I guess I can go first. Gary, no, that's not such a bad thing. But the funny thing is, as a viewer, you are led to believe by the end of this episode, well, it doesn't matter because the whole precinct forgot about Tariq is no longer a suspect. We have arrested Tasha. That's it. Case closed. So it's like, wow. So all this time, this buildup of, well, Tariq did not want to do the time. He did not want to get put in jail for killing Ray Ray. And then by the end of the episode, it's like the writers just said, well, forget that because now it's about Ghost is dead. He got shot. And they put Tasha in jail. That's it. We don't even need to even look at Tariq anymore. That's what I didn't like about this episode because all of this time it's been building to that. What's going to happen with that? Now, obviously, they can revisit this in books in book Power Book 2 if they want to. I mean, I think you should. But obviously, the way that it ends and the way they end off the story of most of every character, that leads me to believe, well, this is no longer an issue. Now it's going to be just about Tariq moving forward. And we're going to forget about this Ray Ray thing, which I think is pretty stupid because you had it going on all this time for this to be how it ends. To me, that was a sloppy ending for that. But just my opinion, because some people probably loved how they just completely ignored that at the end. So if you're a fan of Power, hey, listen, it's all good. But we are going to disagree on that for sure.
Okay, and what about you, Dana? Like, is it such a bad thing for Tariq to fess up and do a reduced sentence?
Okay, so this is weird because no, it's not because I'm just upset still. Remember with the whole thing with his sister. So I do think that he really does need some kind of in jail a Beyond Scared Straight program. They need to bring that back. And I think that it could maybe possibly kind of set him up in the right track because he's never been to prison at all. He wants to be this big bad guy. But in a way, he's kind of been shielded from all of that despite his actions. So I would have appreciated if he would have just went into jail in general to see that, just because it's something that the character really needs at all moments of the show. But yeah, I understand again him being angry about the situation because his father did say that he would protect him, but then jumped up and said, "Oh no, you have to go to jail." So it is a weird way for him to trust anybody. But in general, because of his actions, jail is something that Tariq really needs, especially if he wants to be this big time, drug kingpin. You can't be completely shielded from not going to jail then.
Very good point.
Yeah, good points all around. So let's get to the reason we're all here. Let's hit the nail on the head.
Ouch,
Can I
that
just
hurts.
bring up some things really quickly?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just really quickly, I thought that the whole montage that they did was really unnecessary. I get it storytelling wise, but it kind of felt like just a time filler. Also, the scene, remember, after Ghost called Tasha a half smart chicken head, she had the whole crying situation, but after he left, she just stopped crying and went on about her day. I think overall it would have been more impactful if she would have shown just a wee bit more emotion that lasted more than 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
The whole conversation or argument that Ghost had for, wanting to take Yaz and Tariq away from Tasha, I think that, again, was something that was used to push Tasha over the edge, because that's when she decided to go and get the gun. And we'll move on to that conversation of what happens later on with that. It was really nice to kind of see Raina have they went and did a Raina flashback scene. And it was also, we'll talk about it later, there was like a Raina conversation that really went down and happened. So it was just nice to see the actors back again, and the fact that they remembered that she once existed. I appreciated that very much. So yeah, that's what I have to say. And also, there was kind of like a weird moment where the grave scene, the graveyard, where Ghost was there to put flowers on Raina's grave, and Tasha was already there, and he kind of looked really disgusted. And his first thing is like, "What are you?" His very first reaction is, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like, he literally seemed disgusted that the mother of his child was going to see his, see the daughter at the gravesite. So that was a bit.
Did they change anything with that scene from episode 10? Because that scene happened in episode 10 too, but I can't remember if there was anything different this time.
I mean, he just said that he was going to take Yaz and Tariq with him to Albany, right?
No, it was DC.
DC. Okay, so that was the thing that sent Tasha over the edge, right? This is when she wants Ghost gone.
Yeah, that's when she wanted. You Craig, you have smart chicken head, and then he bopped her, and then she fell to the floor, and that's when the phone started ringing, and she's like, "Yes, hello," and it was like a normal conversation. I believe it was the phone was involved, but either she wouldn't call someone or someone called her, but it was over very quickly. And I believe this was the scene when Ghost revealed to her that he knew that she killed Lakeisha, unless I'm getting my scenes wrong.
That was in the apartment, I believe, in the
that was
penthouse.
In the other one. Okay, so then this was the whole "I'm taking my children to DC" scene. But yeah, I wanted more emotional impact from Tasha with that crying, just a little bit more. Make me feel scared, because it just seemed like he was just acting out of anger, like, I'm gonna have you killed then, how dare you. Show emotion that you're gonna lose your children.
Let me just say two real quick things. I think to answer the question about if that scene felt different, it's again, I think is the threatening nature of him saying, well, you're a drug dealer. You're bad for the kids. So this is why I need to take you away, take them away from you, and I will lock you up if I need to. It was the way he approached that, which felt a lot more threatening. But I have to say, I love the savagery of which Ghost has been, especially episode 10, where he just told everybody off. So the arrogance, the savagery, I have to admit that I laughed at those scenes. And one final thing I will mention before you go to what everybody is waiting for, Gary, just to ask Dana a question. When you talk about the montage, are you talking about the montage where they show Ghosts cleaning up the club and stuff like that? Because I heard that Gary, he just couldn't stop singing that song. Think I gotta let it go. Yeah, that song they were playing. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's my favorite jam now.
Yeah. He likes it better than Boys to Men that he just discovered today.
Nah, I didn't just discover that. But yeah, I'm adding all that to my Spotify playlist right now.
No, but when they added that scene, that to me, like I heard stars talking about, oh, when the leak happened, oh, we're going to change all these endings and stuff. To me, when I saw that scene, that told me this is the official ending of the show, because you go back to that same music, yes, and then even with Tariq, when Tariq had his little interaction with Kanan, which you're going to get into next, I'm assuming.
Oh, that
yeah.
was
So that's what made it official for me. So when people were talking about, oh, well, they're probably going to change it, I said, no, they're not going to change it. So, but that's all I wanted to say. So you can continue, Gary.
Okay, yeah. So we're leading into the big moment, the moment of truth, the moment of clarity that we've been waiting for. So we're at Club Truth, and Ghost is having his party, for his politics and everything, because conveniently everything happens at Truth, like no matter what event it is. No matter what event is happening, it's always at Truth. So he's having his political party, and
with no security.
Oh yeah, no security, of course. You had multiple people with guns that night, because Pars was there too. So
yeah.
So yeah.
And all the back doors are just open, and there's no problem getting in or out, no matter which way.
Exactly. It's wide open. Right? Even we could have gone there. Even though we weren't on the guest list, we could have gone to this party. But yeah. So Tariq is there, and Tasha, she's with Q, and she actually persuades him to to go to the club with her, like to bring her there. She's texting Tariq at the time also, and it's like there's some suspense there. It's like Tariq doesn't want to fully give away his intentions and stuff, but they're both kind of thinking the same thing. This is the night that maybe we can get rid of this problem once and for all. And Tasha, being the mother, she wants to do it herself. She doesn't want Tariq to be in a bad position or whatever. So yeah, so that's the situation, and it kind of just builds up to it builds up this moment of tension throughout. Obviously Tariq has a few conversations with his father during the party and stuff, and Ghost is basically like under the impression that Tariq is normal, and like he wants to introduce him to some people or whatever, and Ghost is under the assumption that Tariq is going to turn himself over pretty much, because I guess he's that arrogant to think that Tariq won't refuse to do that. But yeah, so all that is going down, and then we get the scene that Rich just brought up moments ago, where Tariq is having a conversation with Kanan. He sees Kanan's ghost. Now I have to say one thing: I am a bit tired of all these ghost scenes. With these ghosts, it's like who you gonna call at this point? Like Ghostbusters. I think they overdid this whole ghost thing, like them talking to ghosts and dead people. It's like it just comes off as like a cheap way to put those characters back in the show, when they could have just used flashbacks to achieve the same thing. Like they could have had like a few seconds flashback of a conversation Tariq had with Kanan that meant something to him or something like that, you know. But
Yeah.
it seemed like they really
Well,
just wanted to bring these characters back for a cameo.
I well I mean I think I also speak for Dana, but I have to say I'm very surprised to hear you say this because I know that you are the biggest 50 Cent fan. So I thought you would have been excited to see Kanan back.
Oh yeah, I am. You know, I'm a huge 50 fan, and I'm you know, I'm glad that he's involved with the show and everything. But you know, it's like the reason that this one stood out is because okay, it happened with Ghost. Ghost was seeing, you know, he was seeing Angela, he saw Reyna, he saw Kanan, he saw all these people come back, right? But
Yeah.
like it's like now it's Tariq, so it's like it just comes off as corny to me. It's like Ghost was the main character, so I would accept it if it's him, you know, like if he's the one seeing Ghost, because it's like a callback to all the things he's been through as the main character. But coming from Tariq,
Yeah.
it just came off as like less powerful
No,
to me, because it's like I don't care about this character this much, like for this to mean
that
something. Like
is so unfair. Do you know how many times I had to look at Angela's dead behind? No. So if you can sit through 20 scenes with the ghost of Angela, you can tolerate one scene with the ghost of King.
I'm okay with seeing Angela though. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wonder why. So give us Kanan, and you can take Angela. No. I was perfectly fine with the scene. And, you know, technically it didn't make any sense, but I was fine with the scene.
Well,
And also Reyna. Remember, I don't know where Reyna came in, but
yeah, Reyna
Reyna's
was in episode 10 and in this episode as well, I think.
well, the
Wait,
flashback,
what was her ghost
the
in this one?
the flashback of her singing, I remember from this episode.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
it might not have been her ghost. It was probably a memory.
the flashback. Yeah.
she had a conversation with Ghost in episode 10 though.
Yeah, definitely.
We remember that for sure.
Yeah, so that's why this one stands out to me, because it's like, okay, I get it if this happens with Ghost, if he, you know, has these conversations with
Well,
all these dead people, because he is Ghost, so maybe he can talk to ghosts, you know. So but
you'll see that right there. Just real quick, that right there is why I thought initially that in episode 10, Ghost was already dead because he was talking to all these other people that were also dead. But yeah, no, as you said, I guess this was just put in there to just give an opinion as to what others think of him now that he has reached this new level of status.
Or one can argue that Ghost already died in the first season. We just didn't know.
Like, I was gonna say, like, this would have been a great theory to discuss if they didn't ruin the ending. But like,
Yeah.
this could have been a great, like, you know, those YouTube theories that you see, like that they've got one where in the Matrix, what's his name, the bad guy was the one the whole time. I forgot
Agent
the
Smith.
Agent Smith, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, people say that he was really the one the whole time. Like, so you know how you have people who come up with these conspiracies and like there's actual valid points to them. Like that
Yeah.
could have been something with this show. Like Ghost is really a ghost. Like he's really dead. Like that would have been a powerful theory, but they kind of ruined that with the ending. So
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. But just to go to what you were saying again about the conversation with Kanan, I just want to say that definitely was put in there to further emphasize, not only to show you that Kanan approves of what Tariq has become, but also to really play as a callback to other things that happened. Because you remember Kanan said to him, that was some real sick shit that you did to Tommy. To play back to the whole thing when Tommy got set up in Vincent, Tariq made that call to make sure Vincent would stop Tommy, would take out Tommy. So I think that was all put in there to build up and just remind you, yes, but also just to show you that Kanan very much approves of what Tariq is doing. So
yeah,
yeah,
I understand that part. I know, you know, I get it that they wanted to have that moment, but it just seems cheap and overused by this point because we've seen it, you know, too many
Yeah.
times before. But
Like Angela.
fair enough.
Yeah, we saw a lot of it in episode 10. All these people come out of the woodworks. Yeah, we saw a lot of that in episode 10. And yeah, as Dana said, Ghost Angela. Yes, but you know what? Hey, she's happy for Jamie because he made it. Apparently, according to her, he made it. But obviously, she didn't see episode 15 before she said that. So
Yeah, but they're gonna kill me in the comments for saying
Oh,
this.
you can say they made it. You know, he made it back to her. Aw. It's a true love story. They got to be together.
It is. Yeah, very powerful love story.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of love, we see a perfect demonstration of love gone wrong. In So we get the final moment. Tasha is outside in the car with Q, and she's got the gun ready and everything. She's texting Tariq, but Tariq is inside, and everyone has kind of cleared out of truth. It happened very quickly. People just left, and it was empty, and Ghost was the only person there. So yeah, they're upstairs on the platform, and they have they have an exchange of words together, Tariq and Ghost. Now this moment is kind of a blur for me right now. I can't remember what exactly they said. Do you guys have any thoughts on this final kind of conversation that they had together?
Yes. And I have to admit, this to me is why this was a disappointing conclusion, because it was way too obvious that Tariq is the one that did it. You go back to episode 10, he had the conversation with Ghost. Hey, Dad, tell me about Breeze. Oh, I love Breeze, but I had to take him out.
Oh yeah.
Because he got in the way of my future. And that was the same thing that was brought up in this conversation, where he said that I got to take you out because you're in the way of my future. And then he said, hey, I want to go back to how it was before you left us for Angela. So that shows that he was still carrying the weight of everything that happened with the parents. And he figured that now he had to pull the trigger. And then remember, Ghost said, hey, you can't go back from this. And hey, that was it. He pulled the trigger. So that's what the conversation was like, He started off where he said, yeah, I thought about just it was leading up to that moment, and the fact that he did not trust Ghost anymore, he pulled the trigger. So that's what was said for the most part.
I like that Angela line. That was
yes.
Oh snap. See, and if you talk to your children and communicated with them, you would know this, and they wouldn't have to kill you.
Absolutely.
I mean, Ghost and Angela were very welcoming to Tariq. Like, they invited him into their apartment.
Well, but you know what? One thing I do want to say about this, and this is why, when the leak happened, there was some backlash, a lot of backlash, and it's funny because I normally look on the Stars social media pages, whether it's on Facebook or whatever. And Stars has been advertising this episode, showing trailers and all this other stuff. And then people who see the leak comment in the same chat talking about, oh, this is what happens. And then, oh, I'm going to stop watching the show because Ghost died. The reason why people were angry, not because it was obvious that Tariq did it, but also because this show has told you throughout the seasons that Ghost is very meticulous with how he plans stuff out. So for him to not see this coming, it caught some people off guard, because they're like, how is he not going to prepare for something like this in the event that something could happen? It's like, because then it reminded me of what happened with Terry Silver, and the fact that he killed Terry Silver, and then you're just going to leave the body in that car. That doesn't really seem like something that the character would do, because the character is supposed to be a little bit more intelligent and smart about how he conducts himself. So that's why it caught me off guard to see that. But I understand where people are coming from, where they said to have the character go out like this and then not think about, for a fact, anything could happen to him. Nothing. It just doesn't make any sense. So I understand when people are outraged about that. But again, go back to Terry Silver. I guess this is consistent, because you made him look like he was sloppy with how he took out Terry Silver, and Didn't do anything with the body, just left it in a place where it could be found. So it is what it is.
No, he left it in the trunk. Remember, so technically,
Yeah, the trunk.
Only if you have really good smellers, because apparently nobody can smell a decaying body. It was well hidden, and no one could smell it.
But Tasha knew where it was at. She knew where that body was at.
Yep.
and this is like what you just described. This is exactly the problem I have with this season and episode 10, especially because, like, throughout, all the previous seasons of Power, we've seen a very calculating Ghost, someone who's intelligent, who can outsmart everyone, who always has a plan B, and he plans ahead for every situation you can think of. Like, he's like a chess player, like a master chess player. And then suddenly in this season he's way too arrogant to clearly see anything. So it's like his character was just completely dumbed down this season.
What makes it even more frustrating, just like what you said, he's been dumbed down this season, but what makes it even more frustrating, in the matter of maybe, I want to say, a day or two, if not the same day, to have the exact same conversation with Tariq, talk about your past. Yes, this person got in my way, so I had to take him out. For you to not think that your son also does not want to go to jail, even though he can tell you, he'll take the rap, whatever, but he does it reluctantly. You should know, listen, man, maybe I should have a backup plan in case this goes a different way. Obviously, he didn't expect him to just straight up shoot him and kill him, but it's like, for that story, for you to tell that story to your son, and then for you to be just completely surprised now that I'm at gunpoint, that does not make any kind of sense to me. But listen, it is what it is. At the end of the day, I guess they wanted to really play up the fact that Ghost was a horrible person. He did all these bad things to people over the years, so he had to get some type of payback for it. But again, when you have the character out here, and this is a character that a lot of people still like. They like a lot of these bad people that do bad things. But still, I mean, to kill him in that manner, that was a little, I can see why people are a little upset about that. So, yeah, that was disappointing to see for sure. But I understand it was all about the story coming full circle. And also, I will add in this last point as well about this topic for me. I remember that they said that Tommy had an interview, Joseph Sikora had an interview a while back when he was talking about the theme of power. It has to do with fathers and sons. Think about the fact that Kanan killed his son, Sean, and then Tommy killed his father, Tariq, and now it comes full circle as Ghost is killed by his son, Tariq. Mm-hmm. So I understand what Courtney Kemp was doing with the story. I just think if you're a fan of Ghost, the character, I would have wanted him to go out in a better way than this. I can't tell you how, but it just feels like this wasn't it for me personally.
Generic.
Yes.
It was generic, and it was something that they foreshadowed like crazy. So it was easy to see where this was coming because the foreshadowing was just a lot. So it would have been nice to have a surprise, which they kind of tried to deliver with Tasha at the end, but overall it still doesn't take away from the fact that Tariq killed his father, and that is where you kind of get that simplistic storytelling that goes all the way back to Shakespeare. Except it just was not just as well done as Shakespeare.
Yeah, and like with those instances that you just listed, Rich, with Kanan killing his son, I believe it was Sean, I think his name was. Like, that moment had a lot of weight to it because it was properly developed at that time. Like, it was so, like, Sean was a very well developed character, very well built up, and it seemed like he was going to be able to make a difference to everything, because he had the situation with Tasha going on, and that moment just had so much weight to it, when it happened. Yeah. And then, the Tommy and his father, Tariq, that probably had less weight than the Kanan one, but it was still developed good enough. Like there a lot went into that development. But this, it's like, obviously we all expected this from like 2 seasons ago. Like we were speculating about the fact that Tariq was going to kill his father, like a long time ago. And I do believe that they could have had this still be, they could have still made it predictable in having Tariq kill his father, but they could have developed it way better than they did, so that when the moment actually happened, it had a lot more weight to it. So I think they just kind of failed a little to properly develop this moment. And then also these past 5 episodes, I'm not saying these past 5 episodes were all bad, but they took away from that moment, because it's like we saw a lot of the developments coming already, kind of thing. So yeah,
Exactly.
It's just the execution just wasn't all the way perfect. Like, so it is very underwhelming to see the moment finally happen. But yeah,
Hey.
now what was you gonna say?
Oh no, no, I agree. It's a big, rich town. Yes, yeah, I agree. The thing that I was thinking about, that song once again playing as Ghost is falling from the balcony with a gunshot in his chest. So,
Yeah.
Is this the
Go
one
ahead.
when they used when it came to the song? Did they ever return back to using who was the guy who they did Big Rich Town with, and everyone flipped out?
Trey Songs.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
did
they
they
they, they,
ever?
they haven't they haven't brought that back.
They haven't back, because I remember it was like the slower version, and in a weird way, I kind of wouldn't have mind if they used that in here. Um, yeah, the whole scene thing was really just, it was anticlimactic, for the simple fact there was a lot of factors in it. The fact that they've been teasing this for several episodes straight, so that when it does happen, we're tired of it, and it was a lot of, even though we know that the story has to be told from everyone's perspectives, so you're going to have overlapping and repeats of situations, but overall as just a viewer, it kind of felt that I was just going through the motions instead of being really invested in it like I was the first time when they aired someone's storyline. So by the time that they revisited Ghost we realizing who it was that shot Ghost. Also, the way how they released the order of the scenes, it was just a matter between either it was going to be Tasha or Tariq, and we were just waiting and counting that down. So it just didn't feel as powerful as it should have been. It was very anticlimactic, as you were saying. So I would just, yeah.
Oh no, I agree, and obviously I just want to say this, that now obviously I don't really think this is the fault of Courtney Kemp, but I also don't think they did themselves any favors by taking a week off to bring us this season finale, because it was already drawn out. These 5 episodes is a
Well, they
long
had to.
process. Yeah,
They had,
because of the Super Bowl.
they had to, because no one was going to watch that. I mean, Super Bowl got over 100 million viewers. See, it was no one
And
was going to compete with that.
and now I'm very curious to see how the viewer numbers are going to be, because the Oscars are on Sunday night.
Nobody
So
watches the Oscars at all. Literally nobody, unless you're in
oh,
the industry.
nobody? Oh
Nobody watches the
man.
Oscars. No, it's literally just a bunch of elitists giving each other awards and patting themselves on the back. It's a circle jerk, and nobody really wants to watch that. Unless you're someone really invested in film, they don't do that well with numbers, just in general.
Okay.
At all. So no, I don't see that being a main competition. But to me, it wasn't so much of the problem of of the Super Bowl and them taking that week off. To me, I think that the show lost a lot of momentum because of the leaks.
Yeah.
So
that too. Yep.
they're trying to do that. Oh, but we filmed multiple different endings, so you never know. And it just kind of felt like, yeah, okay, it's a little bit desperate to get off the show. But no, the fact that they leaked and that it was a series finale as opposed to a season finale when they leaked with Raina getting shot, it has a huge more impact, and I think maybe it might impact the numbers more in that regard. But yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what those numbers are. I don't think they'll do bad, but
no, I don't think it'll be bad.
but yeah,
It won't be
I'm
as
I'm
big.
I'm more interested in the reaction of the fans. I want to hear if people are going to be pleased with how this has ended, or is it going to be a lot more angry people? Because there already are some angry people. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen once everybody sees it.
Yeah, me too. I want to see what the reception is. I mean, we already kind of got some just because of the leaks, but yeah, I want to see what it's going to be like when everything is out there and everyone has seen it. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, we still have some more stuff to cover here, so let's continue. So so that moment happens, and then obviously Tariq is disturbed. He realizes he needs to get out of there as soon as possible. So on his way out, he actually sees Sax there. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, what exactly was Sax doing in this moment?
He was trying to kill Ghost, but was a hot mess.
Was he trying to kill Ghost?
Literally a hot mess. He was all there fumbling with the gun and like pacing back and forth and sweating like a big bucket. He looked like he was high. It was just a mess.
I'm gonna get St. Patrick. He took everything away from me. He took my job, everything.
Wait, so he was really there to kill him?
I mean, you saw the episode 10 where he has the gun. He's walking towards the club. I mean, they didn't really. And my guess is this: if they were to change the ending, that could have been one of the endings that they did shoot and they don't use.
No.
But that would not have made any sense. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
No. Storyline wise, it just doesn't even make sense.
I don't get the logic behind him wanting to kill Ghost in that situation.
Oh no! He Ghost took everything away from him, man. And he's about to go. He's on the ballot. He's not going to be arrested. So he said, "Well, I have got to do something. Justice must be served."
Ghost didn't ruin his career. Like, he should have gone after Warner then, because Warner fired him.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, Warner.
Somebody wants to kill you and you're not even thinking about them. Like, that's how much of a non-factor that character was. And fumbling with that gun.
Yeah, I mean the real reason he was there though, we're gonna see that later. But
yeah,
we're gonna get to that later.
For convenience. Yes, continue.
Yeah, it was a matter of convenience. So yeah, Ghost is dead, and then we get to the next day when the news hasn't even settled yet, but they're already at the accountant's office trying to get Ghost's money. They're trying to get his will money.
This was the best scene of the episode for me.
This is the best scene of the series.
Yeah, this was an amazing scene.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah, so the dust hasn't even settled, and they're sat down trying to get Ghost's money. And it turns out that Ghost had things set up. Now, we've seen in previous episodes that Ghost had money for other people. He had money for Paz. He had money for Tommy's mother, and for Tommy himself as well. And who else did he? Who else got money? I can't remember. But a lot of people got money. Go ahead, Dana.
It was Paz. It was Paz.
Tommy got his car.
Tommy got the car.
Yeah.
Tommy's mother got something.
Yeah, I think that might have been it, but
probably that was it.
That was probably more people.
No. The youngest daughter got some money.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. So, the younger
and we never see and don't know existed.
Yeah, the one we never see.
Well, maybe she'll be in book 2.
That's a good point. They could bring that character back.
Yeah, because now Tariq has to make sure she's taken care of since she got his mom locked up.
I hope they make it so. I hope they make it so that she kills Tariq.
Oh, whoa!
Who gets custody? It would
the
be
grandma.
The mother.
The grandma. Yeah.
But you know what? The grandma is only going to have her rent paid for a year, so she better find some work.
Which that was even extra shady because remember they didn't like. I don't think they really liked each other.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was just extra shade thrown at Tasha. Your mom did something.
But yeah, so yeah, in this scene, basically, Tasha and Tariq are there to get the money, to get Ghost
With
Will money,
smiling
but
faces.
huh?
With smiling faces.
Yeah,
They
with
he was
smiling faces.
anticipating.
Yeah, and this just shows the evil within them, like the
Yep.
greedy nature. So they're there to get the money, but of course, Ghost has things set up in a certain way. So first of all, the first bombshell that we get here is that Tasha gets nothing, zero.
Oh, but it gets better. Get to Tariq.
Yep. And so, at this moment, Tariq's like, "It's okay, mom. I'll just give you some of the money that he's got for me." So yeah, Tariq is like, he's planning to give his mom some money, but then he finds out that he cannot access the money that Ghost left for him until he graduates from school.
He has to. See,
Yeah,
no matter what, he has to. No, and it's not just that. Remember, you have to keep up the grade, the average.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Certain average.
Was it like I think it was like a 4.0 or 3.0.
Yeah. Within that range. And let me just say real quick, devil's advocate, Gary, what I said earlier about Ghost doesn't plan things out. I guess the writers want you to believe, well, this is how he planned things out in the actual will, instead of actually being prepared that he might get shot by Tariq. So I guess this is the explanation for how he was thinking meticulously.
But you know why that doesn't make sense? Because it's like, okay, so yeah, let me plan so that Tasha and Tariq don't get my money right away when I die, but I'm not gonna make any plans for the moment when I do die. Like,
well, there was so much foreshadowing that was done that he knew that he was going to die. So much foreshadowing.
Yes. That's funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But yeah, this scene is great though, because this is the moment where we see these two characters get what they deserve. After all that plotting and scheming and being bad people. So this is the moment where it hits the fan, and then we get the. I mean, did you guys have anything else to say about that? First of all, Dana, about the.
I thought it was hilarious, and it was the fact that at the end of the day, despite everything, you still have to go to school, and you still have to keep up that grade point average, despite the fact that you've been fighting with me when I was alive. I still won in death because you can't do anything.
Hey, she was right. He always wins. He always wins.
Yeah, so it worked. And I could just imagine Ghost was just sitting there laughing at everybody. That is the one time where we needed to see an actual ghost. Was Ghost at that table, just with a big smile?
Yeah, where was the ghost of Ghost?
Where was the ghost?
That would have been funny. That would have been very funny to see.
Him just smiling. He doesn't have to say anything. He's just smiling in the corner. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. And yeah, so like Tasha, she was gonna have to work for everything she earned at that point. I mean, we will get to what happens with her, but like if they accepted this how it was, then she would have had to work every day of her life pretty much to be able to afford to live. So she had absolutely zero. And if Tariq is in school, he can't exactly have a job and make money for her and stuff like that. So
it's hard.
They were gonna be broke pretty much.
But here's the weird thing about that, because when Ghost was alive, remember Tasha moved on and she went in the raggedy apartment where it was just looking sad and everything. Yeah. So I think in regards to that, they would have been fine if they wasn't so greedy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tasha had some form of a business. I don't know how well the daycare business was doing, but it was technically a business that she had. She had the apartment while not glamorous, it was an apartment in New York City, probably in Manhattan, which is very expensive if you ever lived in Manhattan. There was a report that just came out that a one-bedroom cost nearly $3,000.
Whoa, whoa.
Yes, so the struggle is real over here. So I think they would have been fine. You know, there's plenty of opportunities to get work as a student where they're flexible about your hours. I mean, as poopy and terrible as it may sound, there's many people who survive. They do retail. You can work and still go to school. It requires really great time management skills, but this is something that you can do. But I think that their greed, not necessarily that they killed him because of money at all, but because if they kept thinking that, oh, we're going to get something now, and that whole big expectation, you know, it was kind of something where they you know, that whole thing with Ghost and them not getting anything, especially with Tasha, was, you know, just deserved. And with Tariq looking miserable at the end because he had to go to school. It was something that Ghost wanted from the very beginning. So it would have worked out fine had they just not been expecting anything.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So to continue, we then get the interrogation scenes, you know, because they have to find out who shot Ghost. That's the most important thing to find out right now. So,
which was extremely overdramatic, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
It was over the top.
It was. But you know, Tariq pulls something, you know, out the bag. Because he did see Sax. He saw Sax on the scene, so he uses that as, you know, he uses that to his advantage, and basically, you know, he gets the other person out the room, the other lawyer or whatever, and you know, he basically tells Sax, I saw you there, I saw you on the scene, so you should go along with my story, and my story is that Dre did it. So if you go along with that, then, you know, we're both okay here, and you won't be implicated because Sax literally just got his job back, so, you know, he doesn't want to be out the door again. So at that moment, you know, and I have to say that this is probably one of the smartest things Dre did, but it was all very convenient, of course, because, you know, Sax had no reason to be there. So this was like a matter of convenience, but that was
but you know,
quick thinking for Tariq. But go ahead, Rich.
But you know what my question would be, okay, so after you asked Tariq, so obviously Tariq, okay, so yeah, you say that I was there. Okay, I was there. So why don't you ask me a question? What happened to Raymond Jones? Oh, I completely forgot about that question. Because now I'm worried that you're going to say something about me. I mean, they still have that on him. That's why I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So that was ridiculous.
Yeah, they completely forgot that case exists now. So
again, this is where I was slightly confused when it came to timeline-wise. Wasn't Dre already dead?
I think it happened. I mean, that's a very good question. I mean, I believe he was back in custody by that time, but I think he died shortly thereafter. They didn't really, because the scene after that, it wasn't until later that they found out that he was dead. So that was a little. I don't think he was dead at that point, quite yet. But again, not 100% sure, because they didn't say that he was dead at that point, if I recall correctly. I don't remember they said it at that point.
No, they didn't say it at this point.
Yeah.
But
so,
I don't know. The timeline is iffy because I guess Dre would have died the day after Ghost, or
yeah.
So this is the day after here. Okay. So yeah, I guess like he hasn't died yet at this point, or they just don't know about it yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they pin everything on Dre basically, and Sax goes along with it, and you know he basically co-signs everything. We also saw that, you know, Warner lost his job, like he was fired by the Democrat and everything. So and what's his name? The other guy, the guy from Fast and Furious who seems to be
Han,
Han.
he's
Han.
always returning now.
which is
like
not
he-
his real name, by the way. We just called him Han. His name isn't it Sun Kang? Oh gosh, what is his
Yeah,
name?
yeah,
Sun
you got
Sun
it.
Kang? I'm really bad with pronunciation.
So
Sun Kang.
that's where he was all this time instead of making Fast and the Furious. That's where he was at.
Well, see, he was
was-
undercover. Here's the thing: he was undercover the entire time, just snacking. He was working an operation, which is why when he walked in, Vin Diesel already knew, but everybody else was shocked. Vin Diesel has that police connection.
Oh yeah, that's
So
it.
the whole time he was like, "Yeah, you've been alive. I've been, giving you cases to do."
so these really are the same characters then. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
It is the same character.
He was the same character.
It's completely canon. Completely canon.
It would have been great if he was like snacking more, because in order to try to not smoke cigarettes, he was always snacking on something. So that would have been really great if they would have had him do that in the Power episodes. But yeah, no, same character.
Oh, that's crazy. So I guess like this moment happens after Fast and Furious 9, like where he comes back to power, like the
Well, yeah,
investigation.
it takes place in between, like he worked up the ranks. So it takes place when he died, when he fake died. And, remember when he went to leave and we never saw him again when he left power?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's when him going to go see Vin Diesel and going to go back to the crew.
Okay, it all makes sense now.
It all makes sense. Everything is connected with that man. Everything. Remember, he started the franchise with Better Luck Tomorrow and just worked himself up the ranks.
Yes.
So yeah, they're trying to pin the murder on Dre. Everyone wants to pin it on Dre. But then later on we see a scene where Tasha and Tariq are conversating in the apartment, and Tariq has actually learned that Dre died. Now this is the part that I'm confused about, right? Because they learn that Dre died, and Tariq obviously tells Tasha that Dre died. And this was the person that they were pinning Ghost murder on. Now,
Yep.
this, like, the way Tasha reacts to this news, like, she feels like she has to do something now and pin Ghost murder on somebody else. But my question is why? Because is it not now a closed case? Because if Dre killed Ghost and then Dre is dead now, like, isn't the case closed? Like, wouldn't the case be closed at that point?
Here's why I say no, because they never technically pinned it on Dre. They never came to Dre and said, we're going to charge you with the murder.
Okay. Well,
They just had, like, somebody say, oh, it was you.
so why does she feel like she needs to do something at this point?
Because she feels that they're gonna figure it out. Because it's really easy, if you look at how they did it, to figure out what the heck happened.
Gary, the simple answer to that question: motherly instincts. I have to do something to protect my child. So, and Gary, the question that you also should ask: okay, so you're going to decide. Let me set up Q. Why the hell am I also there at the same time that the police bust in? And that's totally not going to look suspicious when they say. And then you got Q asking her, Tasha, tell him that I was with you.
Tell him I was with you. Tasha, where are you?
Yeah, like all of these scenes, like I have to say, all of these scenes are completely rushed at this point. Like, because you have Tasha, after she learns that Dre is dead, she makes the call to snitch on Q and implicate him for the murder of Ghost. And then you just see her at Q's place. When they come in and bust him, she's there, like Rich said,
Yeah.
and Q was like, just tell them it was me. Tell them it was me. And she says nothing. So Q instantly knows that it was her. She set this up.
Yep.
He would instantly know, even if Tasha was to say it wasn't him, for the simple fact that he, from my understanding, he never interacted with Ghost. And all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, you remember that scene when they kind of first met? He was like, "Yeah, your man is Ghost." Like
Hmm.
that was the only time that he really knew who Ghost was. It wasn't like he was a follower or a fan or interacted with them daily.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
only time was when she came. Remember when she came to him and was like, "We kind of need this help because Tariq's been kidnapped."
yeah, yeah. I mean, the police probably wouldn't know that. They probably wouldn't know if him and Ghost has history or not, but they clearly know that Tasha is his wife and that, she's with this guy. I guess that's why she felt she needed to be there so that the cops see that, they had something going on and that he has a motive, I guess, to shoot Ghost.
Yeah, that's that right there. See, look at that. See, Gary, that's excellent writing skills right there. Yes, I didn't think about that. That's exactly what her
Oh,
intent was.
yeah, well, it's really not
But
excellent writing skills, but like, I'm just trying to figure out the logic, but but yeah, now what was you gonna say,
I,
Rich?
I just want to say this really the character was already trifling, but especially after this, it's
Mm.
like you're gonna set up the guy who obviously this is the guy that has every intention of being nice, taking care of you, and this is how you repay him. I mean, there are a lot of people out in this world that will use and abuse others, but this
Mm.
here is just like, man, that was a trifling move right there, and I didn't, and I was glad that she got paid, that she paid the price for that later.
Yeah, so this is why I didn't like as well, like, because all of these scenes are just super rushed, because it's like it's the very next scene, like we don't
Yep.
even get a moment for that to sink in, but in the very next scene we have Blanca, coming to Tasha's apartment. The cops are there, and now they're busting Tasha, because Tariq. I mean, sorry, not Tariq. Quinton has basically flipped the story back on Tasha, and let
Hmm.
them know that she had the gun and all this stuff, and that it was her. Basically,
Which
and that
I
he
would have loved
he
to
drove her
see.
there. Exactly. Like, why did they not show that? Like, they should have showed that moment where Q is in prison, he's being interrogated or whatever. Like, let us see that. Let him see it, cause here it's just like super rushed. You're just telling us what happened. Basically, you're not showing us, and
And
it's a very bad way to end the show. Like,
Well, they in their mind, they will probably think it was good enough that they showed you who this character is. They showed you that he has a daughter. Obviously, if it comes down between his daughter and Tasha, he's gonna always choose his daughter. So I guess that was enough in their mind to say, well, we don't need to show all this other stuff. Let's just rush and get to the point. And by the way, let's make it very convenient that all of this happens the very same day Tasha's about to start her new job and Tariq is going to school. That quick of a turnaround, yes, because for more of a dramatic effect, if you will.
mm-hmm.
So,
and also some things just kind of really didn't make any sense. Again, I'm not a cop. I don't know how this whole procedure thing goes. But when someone just randomly calls and say, "Oh, I don't know, Bob was the one who murdered Ghost," wouldn't there be some kind of, you would bring the person in for questioning and not necessarily just arrest them? You would need proof of the gun, the ballistic test,
yeah.
something that kind of pins the murder on someone, as opposed to just like, yeah, you're being arrested now.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's a great question because remember he asked for where's the search warrant, but I
yeah,
mean there was no questioning, nothing. They just said, yeah, he did it. Let's break down his doors and take him into custody now. Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't get that either.
I didn't get that. And the fact that she had, I don't remember. I mean, it's just weird. Certain things just didn't add up. Like, what even would be the motive for him to kill Ghost of all people?
Because
So
he
yeah,
wants Tasha all to himself.
Yeah, that's it. That's what she wants. I'm sure in her head that was the narrative that she would have played. But the fact that this guy drove you to the area, close to the area, because they didn't go directly to the club,
right. It was like a
drove you.
block or so off.
Yeah, but the fact that he drove you to close to the area that you was involved in this whole incident, for you to not think he wouldn't have a problem just revealing that information later. That just shows the character just short-sighted in thinking about, didn't really think through everything, just rushed to make a decision. Yes, he has to go down because I'm not gonna let nothing happen to Tariq. So crazy.
It just all happened. It all unfolded way too quickly, way too conveniently, and just didn't make sense ultimately. So I mean, they could have really salvaged this show, by like, because up to the scene where they're trying to get the will money, like it was okay, but then all of this stuff just brings it back down again for me.
Well,
So
I know that Courtney Kemp, she had mentioned before that this was a show where there wasn't going to be a happy ending for the characters. So obviously, I mean, yeah, Tasha didn't have a happy ending. Ghost didn't have a happy ending. Tariq, yeah, I mean, he's still in school, so
It was a miserable ending for him.
yes.
Which again brings me back to some of the weirdness, because remember when they was having the first argument, and she remember he was arguing with his mother, and she was like, "Oh, he's gonna take you away from me, and you guys are gonna go to DC." And his first reaction was, "Well, what about school? I love school." And that was just kind of funny. And then now he's being stuck at school for indefinite for the 4 years. It was just really odd.
But wait a second. We there's another line that I want to mention real quick.
what's up?
That I thought was very cheesy. When Tasha gets arrested, Tariq, live your life. Go to school. Live your life. Live your life. I laughed when I saw that. Like, come on now, man. This is, ridiculous, but not surprising. But yeah, she said that to emphasize, yes, I want you to do what you need to do. Go to school and live your life. So, I don't know, man. I was not a fan of this ending, if people can't tell by now. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I was just, puzzled.
Yeah, puzzled. That's a very good word for this.
So, like, are we all in agreement that all of this is setting up, the Tariq show where he's basically going to be in college and probably dealing drugs on the side or something like that? Like, is this where it's going?
Well, I believe that 50 Cent has already spoiled that when he took that photo of Tariq and his other friend, the other actor that played his friend when they was at show in that image. So yeah, it is spoiling that. One thing I do want to say though, and I don't really like this. I saw at the end of the episode, at the very end of the episode, when Tariq closes the door, now you see his name, Tariq James St. Patrick. Okay, so I figure, okay. I was trying to figure out why is the spinoff called Power Book 2 Ghost? Because Tariq is not Ghost, even though he has that line. He says, "I'm you, Dad. I'm you." But this is not Ghost. So to me, I'm confused why they have that in the title, because if there's somebody who is a fan of Ghost, is that put in there to make people think, oh, well, this is a reason to watch it, because I'm pretty sure Ghost, the real Ghost, is going to be in the show. That's why can't it just be Power Book 2? Why do we have to talk about Ghost? I know it's 48 hours after what happened with Ghost.
Because the way how they ended when he closed the door in the college.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I can recall them using his full name.
Yes, that was the first time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Tariq James St. Patrick situation, to let you know that I am Ghost's son. I am his son.
Yeah,
and
okay.
This is the next chapter of me carrying on that legacy.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to see this.
Well, actually, I believe you and Dana said off air you cannot wait to watch this show.
I don't have any hate for it.
I mean, whatever show Method Man and Mary J.
Mary J.
Yeah, whatever show they're gonna be on, I will watch it. So I don't know if it's gonna be the same show as this.
It is this show. It is this show.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm watching it for them basically. I'm not watching it for Tariq. So I hope they have big roles in this, you know, and Tariq has like a small, minimal role.
I don't know about that, man. It all comes back to Tariq. So I feel he's the star of the show. So but we'll see about that.
Okay, so what do you guys think of that entire story? We're gonna get to the epilogue, of course, but before we get to that, what do you guys think of the story now that it's completely finished? You know, the Power Ghost St. Patrick story is over now. We've seen it all in its entirety. Well, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts? What are your final thoughts?
There's one thing you forgot.
What's that?
You didn't do the montage of Tasha having to strip down and take off everything. And the eyelashes and the tears running down her face, and then the wig, and then the edges. You didn't.
Oh yeah, go ahead and talk about it. What do you think about it?
Hey! It's a big rich town. Yeah, that's the song. That's the song. That's it. Go ahead.
No. Here's the weird thing. I really like that whole ending, which I know it's everybody's like, we hate the whole situation.
No, well, I didn't want to cut you off. I just want to say I definitely agree that I love how they shot that, because you show the scene of Tariq going through school and then his mom going through jail. That was well shot. So I'll give him credit for that. But continue.
It was literally the only thing in this episode that was well shot, because for me it was edited poorly and everything came across as being choppy. Like they were rushing through scenes just to make, that final ending. And this was the only one where they actually took time, let the characters breathe, and for the audience to really get a good feel of what was really going down, and for the impact of the episode to kind of sink in. So I appreciate my slow-mo montage of, going into prison and going to college. I really like that. It was, you can say, the beginning of one life and the end of another one. Mm-hmm. I thought that overall it was... Natari, I can't pronounce her name. Natari? Is that her name?
Yeah.
I thought it was Natari's best performance, because overall she's kind of been all over the place. Again, especially when it comes to emotional scenes, she's not exactly like an Angela Bassett. Like, she gets the job done, and it's like just that thing she gets done. But I really felt that they let the character, I don't know if that was the case of the slow-mo, but they let the character kind of like breathe, and she delivered a really good performance, and you kind of got the reality of now her situation of where she's stuck in, and you kind of saw, even with the stripping of the clothes and the wigs and the eyelashes, like it was a strip down to your identity, as to like, this is what you really are, this is how you really look. So I appreciate that part very much so. Going with the whole school situation with Tariq, for me it was kind of less impactful and more like haha, just in the overall sense of, this is where you actually have to be now. So for school to be your punishment was kind of hilarious somewhat to me. But now he has to kind of navigate this world by himself. His mother is in prison, possibly for life. So she's kind of, you can view it like she's dead, not literal dead, but, you're just stuck in prison for life. I'm going to assume that's how long she gets. Your father is literally dead. Your uncle, who, has kind of always been there, he's gone off to California. Kanan is dead. The guy who you wish was your father so much, he's dead. So you're going to have to start building your life. And the fact that it's now James St. Patrick that he uses as his full name with it, I don't know if this means that he has to either, one, he's going to formulate a life by himself, or he's going to try and to use that name as a way for him to gain power and to kind of run the streets that way. So I liked the very end of the whole scene way more than I liked the whole episode.
I would like to ask a quick question of both of y'all. So, as far as Tariq getting back into the drug game, so do you think that we're going to get some repeat storytelling of him, getting along good with a teacher, and then let me get the teacher into the business and stuff like that. Or are they actually going to try to attempt to make this different from what has already been done on this particular show?
It's the same writers, so no. Sorry, I just don't really see them thinking outside of the box that way. I see it kind of being not necessarily the same, as in like, here's the exact same way your father did it, but definitely in the same kind of beats and in the same spirit of your father. Yeah. Which is kind of what you kind of see when they showed the picture they released a while ago with Mary J. Blige and her kind of spinoff thing.
Yeah, I know they had said that she's also into the drug game. And I saw
she's a female ghost.
And I saw people have theories that perhaps that could be Effie's connect. But again, we haven't seen Effie since Tariq got removed from Cho. So I will be interested to see how they will bring that into the fold, if that is in fact who she is. But we'll see.
Yeah. You know what spinoff I want to see though?
What's that?
Angela.
I want to see Black is the New Orange with Tasha.
Oh dear heavens!
Well, hey, she'll probably be in the spinoff, right? She'll make an appearance every now and then. Tariq calls his mom from jail.
That actually really wouldn't be bad, of her like trying to climb up the ranks in prison. I wouldn't mind that. It's better than Tariq.
That would be an amazing show, in my opinion.
It would.
And then is she going to expect to get a visit from Q? Because he gonna be try to say, hey, I know you did me wrong, but I forgive you, all this other crap. Or is what's gonna happen with that?
Oh dear.
Well, like at the end of the first season, the big plot twist is that Q becomes a correctional officer. This is great material.
That'd be funny, yeah.
Like this is great material right here, Stars. Like you need to do this for real. But no,
I agree.
Yeah, like good observations though on the ending scenes. I agree with what you guys have said, and it's a good way to summarize it all. But let's get to this epilogue scene. So what did you guys think of the epilogue? And
I liked the epilogue. I was confused, but I liked the epilogue.
What confused you?
Because I didn't know. I thought that was the spinoff.
Okay.
So it was like, I got really excited because I was like, yes, Tariq can't be in this no matter what.
Well, that might see, it is confusing because I know that 50 Cent said that the spinoff book 3 is Raising Canaan, and I would assume that is when they're kids. But again, that's not coming. They haven't started on that yet. They've only been working on book 2, so I don't know when exactly that's coming. But we'll see. But no, continue with what you were saying.
No, I just really like the whole feeling, the music. The choice was good. I liked that we finally it was Kanan, Tommy, Angela.
We didn't see Kanan though.
No, we didn't see Kanan.
No, we didn't see Kanan?
No, it was only
that
Tommy.
Was Kanan. Was it? No, that was Tommy. It was the white kid. Yeah. Who threw attitude and was just walking by them. Okay, I thought it was Kanan. But I would like to see Kanan, because that would be great. And we can learn more about their relationship. And it can finally put an end to that theory that Tariq is Kanan's child. We can finally put that to rest.
Yeah, but they did. He did mention Kanan. Kanan wanted us to move this weight, and that was why Tommy wanted them to go. But then Jamie got caught up talking to Angie, little Angie. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a cool little epilogue. I get what they were trying to do. My thing is, number one, they don't look like the characters at all. So that kind of throws it off for me.
They really don't. Not even the same complexion.
Yeah.
Good
Like,
heavens.
they look absolutely nothing. I mean, maybe Angela might have been the closest, but I don't know.
Angela
Like,
looked white.
yeah.
So you know, to go along with what you just said, once they actually do make this prequel and they actually cast different people to play in these roles, this will once again be considered a rush job, that you're going to have different actors and actresses playing in this particular epilogue, but then have a completely different cast for the actual story. So that tells me they didn't think this through, if it is going to be different people.
No, I thought it was the same people.
Oh no, I mean when they do the actual spinoff, is it going to be that same cast, or
this
is
is
it going to be
where I was
different?
confused. I thought they was giving us a teaser of the spinoff.
No,
Well, hey,
I don't think this is actually going to be it. I don't think it's going to be these actors.
Really?
But
all I'm saying is, if it isn't, then obviously this was rushed. This epilogue was rushed also, to just get people into the role. If it's not the same cast, but that would be very confusing if it isn't the same cast.
I believe it's the same.
Yeah,
it has to be.
My second critique of this is, like, from the way that Kanan, Ghost, and Tommy always talk about their past, I would always picture them as, like, being school dropouts who were never really into the school life. Now, of course, you know, they knew Angela, I guess, from school and from the neighborhood or whatever, but, like, I just can't see, I can't ever see them, but from the way they talk about their background, I could never see them actually having, like, a normal, functional life in school. So it's like, they like, in this scene, it looked like they were too, they looked like legit students, and I just always picture them as being, like, evil people who were just always in the streets and never went to school. So I don't know, like,
Oh gosh,
it's really hard to picture them being in school for me.
Oh, they were in school. I know.
I mean, what age are they supposed to be in this scene?
Well, you know, junior high-ish to me.
Well, you know, I do believe that they were in school, because it has to start somewhere before it spirals out of control, and then they become the people that they ended up becoming. So maybe they were in school and they ended up having to drop out because of what happens. I guess we'll have to wait for the prequel.
No, remember Angela gets. They were saying, they made a whole scene. Angela got into Cho.
Yeah,
so
and she left.
It feels like it was junior high, because isn't that a high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say probably junior high, maybe.
Yeah, she went to Cho.
So this is before high school?
Yeah, junior high. Oh, yeah, I don't know what you would call it. Primary school down there? What do you call it?
We have primary school and secondary school. Secondary school is high school, basically.
So then primary. We would be primary school.
Okay, well, yeah, I guess if it's primary school, cool. I can see that, you know, because they were probably, you know, they were probably going to school at that point. But yeah, I don't know, like, it just did, like, it was a cool scene and everything. I don't have a problem with it. It's just the actors, like, didn't look anything like them for me, so that kind of threw it off. But it was cool. Like, I'm glad they did do some sort of epilogue like that as a throwback to, you know, Ghost, Kanan, Angela, Tommy, you know, and the kind of friendship they had in the past or whatever. So I'm glad they did do that.
Well, you wanted to see something like this. I remember talking like last season or so. He was like, oh, it would be really great if they were kids.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing, like, you know, a prequel series, but, like, I wouldn't want them to be at this age, though. I would want them to be a bit older, like, but...
I'm assuming that can definitely happen. If the show is a success and it continues, you know, then they will show them growing. But we'll have to see about that, because yeah, a little confused, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, so any more final thoughts about the epilogue or Power in its entirety?
Uh-oh.
In a weird way, I will miss it just because it became habitual.
Yeah.
You been around for 7 seasons, so it's been habitual. Every Sunday you just watch it. I wish it would have ended better. Just this whole season in general, there were good moments, and then there were really awful, terrible moments.
Mm-hmm.
I wish some things wasn't completely rushed, and that they paid attention to pacing and storytelling more. But overall, it's been a staple in people's lives, and rest in peace is all I can say.
Whoa. Rest in peace.
To this story, technically this part of the story will never be seen, or revisited part again. But yeah, it was a show that existed.
Yeah, I definitely I missed the show that Power used to be, because I missed the days when we were having conversations like, is Power better than The Wire? Like, that was actually a real debate at one point in time, because the show was good at one point.
That was never that was a debate with yourself.
I mean like within my friendship circle, this debate was happening. Like I personally didn't think it was better ever, like, because The Wire is a great show. Like, that's always my number one show. But you could legit make the argument, within the first 2 or 3 seasons of Power, you could sort of make the argument, because it was that good. But it, sadly, the quality of the writing kind of took a turn eventually.
Whoa, took a turn.
And yeah, it did. And we got season 6. So, but to Power's credit, and to Courtney Kemp's credit, I do want to say that it is very difficult to have a show that runs multiple seasons and maintain the same quality throughout. Like, that hardly ever happens in TV. Usually there's always a point where the show gets worse, or the quality dips, or whatever. It happened to shows like Lost.
Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones?
Yep, Game of Thrones.
What was it? Season 6? 7? 8?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but the
Which
last
one? That's how bad of a show was, when it was a cultural phenomenon, and anyone you talk to, oh my God, did you see that episode? Oh my gosh, so it literally just taking over the world, to the fact that how the last season was, people completely forget about it.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about it ever again.
And even the people who worked on it are apologizing about not doing a good job.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah. I mean, I to be fair to Courtney and the Power, the staff and everything, I don't think season 6 of Power was as bad as Game of Thrones, the final season.
Whoa,
but
really?
It never reached the height of a quality that it could have been to be a cultural phenomenon. For example, if The Wire, how it started out, and the way how it would have completely dropped off the face of the earth like Game of Thrones did, then I think that's something that's comparable. Power never reached that height. And I don't mean like even this being a cultural phenomenon. I just mean in the storytelling itself. Never reached that high quality. So I can't compare the two. Sorry.
Well, the point I'm making is, it's very hard to, have a show that's consistently great every single season, right to the end. And very few shows do that. Sorry, Dana, what did you say?
I would consistently great, but for how long? I think maybe the first 3, maybe 4 seasons of Power.
Yeah.
Was kind of that consistency.
Yeah, first 4 for sure were the best.
I don't want to go off topic, but I want to ask. So what do you think is what was the downfall of the show? Like what particular storyline or incident that happened was when things took a turn for the worse? Was it when it was the Super Friends, teaming up and then disbanding? Or I need to kill this character. I need to kill this character, and then we come back together, or was it something else?
Yeah, I think it was that moment. I think like
Yeah,
uh,
when Ghost tries to kill Kanan, and then comes back. Wait a second, we're buddies again.
yeah,
We're buddies again. Yeah.
I think it kind of fell off after they did the trial, when Ghost was facing the trial.
that was after the trial, like
That
with
was after the trial.
the Super
Yeah,
Friends thing.
Super Friends. So like, I think right when they ended with that season with the trial, and they went to next season, that's when everything took a turn for the, oh, this is not good.
Yeah. So from season 5 onwards, basically, is when it started to dip, and I think it was just because they had too many. They started to have too many characters, too many open threads that they couldn't
Yeah.
close. And they were just starting to repeat storylines, like people becoming friends again and then falling out again, and then
You,
it just it started to become like a cycle of the same thing,
you,
and
you, all,
too
you
many
also,
connects.
oh yeah, too many connects, and you also had Tommy and Ghost taking out the connects very quickly, like they killed Milan. That was halfway through that season. I was like, okay, I thought this was going to be lead to the end of the season, but they dealt with him very quickly. So I said, okay. So yeah, it's a lot of different things that you can pull from and say, okay, that was probably a step backwards.
Yeah, but I have to say, like the whole Lobos thing, that was some of the best writing in the series, because it's like they built up the Lobos killing, like the point where they killed Lobos and all that. That was
Yeah.
brewing for like 3 seasons or something. Like it was, they built that up for a very long time, and those moments like were, you know, really well done.
Oh yeah.
That the whole Lobo storyline, like he was definitely the number one connect in this show. Like, so yeah, all that stuff was great, quality writing. But do you so like let's have this as our final, sort of discussion. Like, what was your favorite storyline or favorite moment in Power's history? So, Dana, for Dana, I know it's going to be one of Ghost's sex scenes. That's
Oh
going to be
no, that's all of Richard. That's Richard right there. He couldn't wait to see that
Oh
scene.
no.
No, that would have been the first season of the very first episode for Richard, because that's when Tasha and Ghost was, partaking in some making of babies.
Horrible. Yep.
So that's all Richard's favoriteness over there.
No, you know what I remember from the first episode, when Tasha was like showing Sean her parts in the car, in the limousine or whatever.
Yeah. Horrible, terrible.
Tasha was bad from the beginning.
Yep. Her and Ghost. They were bored. They were tired of being together. But it took 6 seasons to get a divorce. Yep.
No, but what are some of your favorite moments though? Like your favorite storyline?
Well, when I thought that Tasha was going to break out and go and leave Ghost, and that was going to be her new, storyline of making it on her own, and possibly hope without any kind of doing drugs, that was a really great moment that I thought that I really appreciated. Obviously, that didn't work out very well.
Okay, that's the only one.
Trying to think, like, it's been 7 or so, a couple years now.
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah, a lot happened, I guess. Rich, have you got any that come to mind?
I can't really pinpoint a specific moment, but if it's one thing that I like about the show in general, I have to say that I love the evolution of Joseph Sephora as a character, because you told this story about Tommy and all of the failed relationships he had. The stuff with Holly, that really cut me to the core when I see her choke her out. Like, man, this guy got problems, to find out that, oh, she was carrying your baby too. And then the drama with his father, the falling out with that, the issues with ghosts. I mean, this guy, I think, had to be one of the best characters on the show, in my personal opinion. The way they developed the character, the way they showed you that he always remained the same every time, in terms of trying to be in charge. Obviously, he was in Ghost's shadow, but he became his own man, which is why I'm very much hoping that he does get this spin-off show, because this is not one of the confirmed shows that I've heard yet. So I'm hoping that does happen if he decides that he actually wants to do that show, because I heard the actor does not like California. So I don't know how that would work. But yeah, I mean, I just like how they involved that character, and it's a very tragic story of him losing his family, losing love, all this other stuff, which makes you still want to root for him, even though he is also a horrible person with all the people that he has killed, so on and so forth. But again, I just like how he stood out on this show, because I've seen this actor have cameos in other shows, but he's never been as good as he has been in this particular show, in my personal opinion.
Remember the intruder peeing?
Oh yeah, he
that
was
like
there.
One scene when he just peed, and that was it. They killed him all. He deserves more as an actor, because he truly is talented.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But it's hard for me to pinpoint a particular moment. But I just think, him as a character in his friendship with Ghost, this I guess you could say it's a bromance, if you will. Mm-hmm. I like that, how they tried to evolve that. But yeah, above anything else, Joseph Secure really killed that role as Tommy. So that's my highlight for the show, for sure.
Yeah, shouts to Tommy. He was definitely a great character throughout the show. I have 3 moments that I pinpoint as like my standouts. So Lobos was, that storyline was like, one of them. I already kind of talked about that. Second would be the moment when I believe this was the end of season 2. When Ghost and Kanan have had their confrontation already, and then right before the credits roll, they go to the place that it was supposed to, there was like a fire in there basically, so it would have been like burnt to a crisp, but they see scratch marks on the door, and they're like, this wasn't somebody trying to get in, this was somebody getting out. And then it's kind of like, wow, Kanan survived, kind of thing. So that was a dope moment. And then it would be Kanan killing Sean as my third.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That, like I said earlier, that moment had a lot of weight to it, like, because Sean was becoming a very like important character at that point.
Yeah. So Sean was Ghost's real son, and Tariq is Kanan's son, I guess.
They should have really like made that like a shock reveal at the end. That would have been crazy. But unless you guys got anything else to say, I guess that's pretty much it from us. And as far as us doing more Powercasts in the future, we will. When the spin-offs do happen, we will watch them, of course, just to see what it's like.
Summer.
And what would you say, Dana?
This summer. This
summer. That's when it's coming.
That's when everything pops off.
Wow, that's pretty soon. That's not far away. So.
You're like, oh gosh, it's really. This whole voice and everything just deflated.
No, it didn't deflate. I'm just like shocked. I'm like, wow, we don't have long to wait. But
no.
But yeah, as I was saying, like, we will watch these shows and we'll make a decision, if we're gonna carry on doing, the Powercast in the same format, because there could be a chance, that there's too much going on, and we instead decide to just wrap up the entire season in one episode or something like that. Or we might do the week by week as well. So we'll make a decision, as and when the time comes, and we're able to see the show and what it is basically, and whether we actually want to go in the week by week format. So we'll let you guys know for sure. But we definitely.
You're excited.
Go ahead. What do you say?
Well, cheese. I know you have to talk about cheese. Method Man.
Method Man. Oh yeah, I'm excited to see Method Man for sure. But I do want to say that we want to thank everyone who has followed this show throughout its history. The Powercast.
Absolutely.
I mean, the podcast. Like all the people who listen, every week, and who leave comments and hit the like button. And even the people who don't like the show or the things we say, the people who leave negative comments and feedback or whatever, like we still appreciate you guys for taking the time to listen to us, over the years and everything. And we definitely want to give a big shout out to Stars, Courtney Kemp. Oh, and as a 50 Cent fan, I just want to shout out 50 for getting his Hollywood star, his Walk of Fame star. Like that's a big deal, man. I've been a 50 Cent fan since 2002.
Wait, hold on. Let me ask the question. What did he get that star for again?
For being 50.
For power or for something else?
It's a combination of things.
It's a combination of everything. I mean, at the end of the day, he does a lot.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious.
Yeah.
Yes. Congrats to 50. Congrats to 50.
He's a big inspiration. Like just thinking about the fact that he came from the streets of Southside Jamaica, Queens. Doing what he was doing back in the day, the illegal activities or whatever. And then, he made a name for himself in the music industry, got signed by Eminem. We all know he got shot, before he met Eminem and all that stuff. He was shot 9 times. He came back from that and got himself a record deal. He blew up and had like the biggest release in hip hop, at that point in time. And then, he did many other things after that, like the vitamin water deal. We say vitamin over here, so I'm sorry.
Vitamin. Oh my god.
That's how we say it.
That is so adorable. Can you say it again?
No.
Vitamin. The vitamin water. Oh my god. That's perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That I couldn't hide that one. That's how we say it.
So perfect. Vitamin.
Congrats to 50.
But yeah, congrats to 50, man. He's done a lot in his career, movies, TV shows, and Power is just the beginning of his TV career. Like he's got that other show coming out on
For Life.
Yeah.
ABC comes out, I believe, next week or so. And
see that?
And also the second spinoff of the Power series, which is called TGE, which stands for the Golden Era, and it actually will be about some of the 1980s New York's most famous drug dealers.
Oh.
Alpo, Rich Porter.
I definitely know about that.
Rich Porter, Alpo Martinez,
AZ,
Faison. It also features prominent figures of the crack boom of the 80s. And it's about everyone who influenced and developed who Kanan is as a person and his behaviors. So he describes it as being Goodfellas, but like for black people. And it will have the return of Kanan. So Kanan will be back at acting, even though he was dead. He is coming back. So yeah.
And also he has a BMF as well, which is like documenting like another
show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's doing a lot. So big shouts to 50 Cent. And
yep.
Go ahead.
Go shorty. It's your birthday.
Also, he wanted that the show does start in 1988, but this will be over 25 years before the events of Power. So he may or may not, they may use multiple actors as Kanan.
Multiple actors as Kanan?
Well, if you're doing something that's going to be a span
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
over a while, you know, you're going to have to use different actors probably.
Oh, okay.
It
So
just,
so they'll
it's
be
not
going
like,
back and forth through time, basically.
maybe not, because they said the show, it starts in 1988. So this is over 25 years before the events of Power. So we don't know what capacity we'll see the older Kanan.
Right. Well, that sounds interesting. So,
Oh, and one more thing, even though this has not been fully confirmed, this is what 50 Cent says, and he's not exactly reliable, but Sean Penn may be a part of the cast. Again, 50 Cent is not reliable.
that would be major if that's the case.
That would be incredible if that's the case, yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what the future brings, you know, with these shows, and we'll definitely be covering other things in the meantime. You know, we'll be doing movie reviews, you know, and reviews of other TV shows. So we'll be around. You know, if you guys like entertainment, you like gaming, you know, definitely hit the subscribe button and just keep following us. You know, we're gonna be around. But we thank you all for listening, you know, and we thank Stars for providing this show and hours of entertainment for all of us. And yeah, you guys got any final words or shout outs before we get out of here?
I just once again want to echo what you said and thank everybody for checking out the show, whether they criticized it or enjoyed it. We definitely enjoyed talking about the show, enjoyed talking about Power, and we definitely will continue to bring you some more compelling shows in the future. Feel free to throw some suggestions. I know that we did get someone leave a suggestion about Ozark, and I need to catch up on that show because I did start watching it. So maybe talking about that in the future. Another show that I have been watching, Snowfall, an awesome show. We definitely need to talk about that in the future as well. So yeah, if you think of any shows you would like for us to cover in the future, feel free to just let us know in the comments section. And also, let us know what your favorite Power moments were as well, because Gary brought that topic. So I'm curious what other people's answers are also. But yes, thank you for the continuous support and checking out the show. And stay tuned. We have more things in the works.
Indeed, we do. And Dana, any final shout outs or anything?
No, it's just been really fun. Despite my criticism, this is a fun show. Power was a fun show to watch, even in its hot messness or even in its goriness. It was always fun, and that is the sole purpose of TV, to keep you entertained, educate you, and to keep you entertained. And I was very much entertained by every part of it.
Yeah. I share that sentiment as well. You know, even in the moments we've been critical of the show, we actually still were entertained by it. You know, entertained enough to do a recap show. So.
Oh yeah, and most times a recap show longer than the actual show. So that should tell anybody that thinks that we are critical of the show, we don't like the show. If we didn't like the show, we wouldn't spend an hour plus time talking about the show. So obviously there is something there that entertains us to the point where we want to talk about it. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, we're just like super nerdy people who appreciate storytelling. So, you know, we love to just dissect these things. That's all. You know, but we're not hating on the show or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that note that Rich just said, because yeah, this is already like double the length of of the finale. So yeah, we're gonna be out of here, and we thank everyone for listening, and you know, we wish you all the best for the future. So, peace out, everyone.